I've been reading earlier today in the book of Numbers in the Old Testament, chapters 13 and 14. It's one of my favorite stories. It's the story of the children of Israel traveling toward what was to be their promised land. And on the way, God instructs Moses to appoint a committee, really. It isn't called that, but that's what it is, a committee of 12 persons, one from each tribe of Israel, to go over into the land that they are someday going to possess and to bring back a report. The report they brought back has three elements in it, it seems to me, or three ways of looking at what they discovered. Three ways that can apply to any of us in any of the decisions we have to make. They discovered when they went into that land of promise that it was a beautiful land. It was indeed going to be a land of milk and honey. When they brought back some of the fruit of the land, namely the grapes, it was said that the bunch of grapes they brought back as a souvenir or evidence of their trip was so large that that bunch of grape was carried on a stick with a man at each end holding the pole full of these abundant grapes. This was symbolic of the wealth of the land. You would think, therefore, that there would be nothing but high expectation about taking that land as their own. But the committee came back with a mixed report. Specifically, all 12 agreed that it was a great land. 10, however, said, we can never conquer the land. There are giants there, and this land will consume us. On the other hand, 2 of the men said, yes, there are battles to be fought there, but we can win. God is with us. Now, I see in all of the experiences of life that open up to you and to me, whether as individuals, as parents, as children, as church persons, members of congregations, or indeed for some of us who might be in the world of business or of education. Every day, well, perhaps not every day, and yet in a sense, yes, every day, we find ourselves on the edge of some land of promise. Shall we do this or that? Shall we take this venture? Shall we invest our time or our money or our very selves in some project? And when we entertain that possibility, we discover that on the one hand, we can look at the problems. That's what 10 of the spies did. They saw only the problems that were there. And the problems became the definition of the whole project. The problems forced the decision. And so for those people, the problems said, we can't do it. And they gave up on the plan entirely. Incidentally, they won the argument that day, and as a result, the nation of Israel wandered in the wilderness for nearly 40 years before at last a new generation could go into the land. Those people made their decision on the basis of the problems. On the other hand, there was the issue of the prospects. All 12 of the people saw the prospects there. They saw that the land was rich. It was full of opportunity. It had all kinds of encouraging possibilities. As ordinary human beings, anybody can look at a situation and see the possibilities if only they will. Some people almost shut out the sight of possibilities simply because they are so overwhelmed by problems and concerns. But the possibilities are there. 2 of the people saw the possibilities well enough that they thought the possibilities were more important than the problems. But then there is the third factor, and that's what these 2 people saw predominant above everything: God. God was the issue to 2 men, Caleb and Joshua. Caleb and Joshua saw the problems. They knew there were problems. They saw the possibilities. They were exhilarated by the possibilities. But they knew well enough that there was a third factor that mattered above all else: God. And they believed that God was with them, and with God's help, they could win the victory. As the story ends, a generation later, those two men were the only persons from their generation to go into the promised land. I leave it before you today. Whatever decisions you have to make, there are always problems. There are possibilities. And anybody without faith can see those two things. The person who walks with God sees the third crucial factor, God. If God be for us, it hardly matters who's against us. And God bless you today, my friend.